Assalamu alaikum, dear students. How are you? I hope you will all be fine. So today we have to start with the second conditional sentences. We have already done zero conditional. We have done first conditional, and today we have to start with the second conditional sentences. Like the first conditional, second conditional has also two clauses, if clause and the result clause. In the case of if clause, when we are talking about the second conditional sentences, we use if plus verb in the past tense. Yes, in the case of if clause, we use the past tense. And in the case of result clause, we use would, could, or might with the first form of the verb. We can also use the modal verbs could and might instead of would. Yes, instead of would, we can also use two more modal verbs which are could and might. Could introduces the idea of ability, while might expresses a possibility. We do not use should in the second conditional. This is the rule which you have to keep in mind, that in the case of second conditional, you can easily use would, could, and might, but should will not be used. Like you can see in the example, if you went to Europe, you could see multiple countries in one day. Traveling might be easier if you had a bigger budget. So in both these examples, we have used could or might in the case of second conditional. If I were rich, I would travel around the world. In the case of if clause, we have used were, and in the case of result clause, we have used would with the first form of the verb. If the if clause comes first in the sentence, put a comma after it, but if it comes at the end, then a comma is not necessary. Like you can see in the example, if clause is coming in the beginning, so we have put a comma after it, but in the next example, it is coming at the end, so we need not to have any comma in that case. Notice that we have used were even though the subject is singular. Most of the time, it is a rule that we use were when the subject is plural. But in the case of conditional sentences, in the case of all the conditional sentences, we can easily use were with all the persons. This is because were can be used for all the persons in the if clause. We can say he were, I were, she were. Now let me tell you the reason why we use were instead of was in the case of second conditional sentences. We use were instead of was with all the persons, whether they are singular or plural, only in the conditional sentences. It is only in the case of conditional sentences that we can use were with all the subject pronouns. Otherwise, with all the other sentences, we cannot use were with a singular pronoun. Conditional sentences express wishful and unreal situation. This is the reason that we use were with all the pronouns, because conditional sentences, they express wishful or unreal situation. So this is the reason that we simply use were with all the pronouns, whether they are singular or plural. Now you can see these examples. If I had a younger sister, I would love her so much. In all these examples, one thing is common, because these are all the examples of second conditional sentences, that in the case of if clause, we have used past tense, and in the case of result clause, we have used would, might, or could with the first form of the verb. Here we have some sentences, correct use of the verb. You can easily change all these sentences according to the second conditional. This is how you people are going to have the sentence in your exam, that in one clause you will have to change the verb, and in the next clause the verb will already be there. So you will have to be very careful regarding this matter. You will simply read out the whole of the sentence first, and then you will decide which tense you have to use according to the second conditional. Then we have answer key to all the sentences which were there in the previous slide. So you can easily check your answers from here. So there will be no difficulty, there will be no mistake regarding your answers, regarding your questions. So you can easily check your answers from here. Here I have some more sentences over here. So try to do all these sentences yourself first, and then you can easily check your answers from the answer key which is available in the next slide. So in this way, it will be very easy for you people to attempt your question of the correct use of the verb in the case of conditional sentences. Yes, this is the answer key to the sentences which were there in the last slide. So you can easily check your answers from here. So I hope students, your idea with the second conditional would be quite much clear by now. And you must have understood that if you have a sentence over here, how would you change the verb over there according to the second conditional, because the rules have already been discussed over here in this lecture. Okay, students, Allah Hafiz.